welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making Philadelphia Eagles Now a part of your day. And coming up here on the show, according to Brian Baldinger, we all love Baldy, one of the top NFL analysts out there, longtime offensive lineman in the National Football League, including for the Philadelphia Eagles. He said on the NFL Network that Justin Simmons, the four-time second-team All-Pro safety, wants to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. Does it make sense? We're going to talk about that over the next several minutes and, of course, get to what Baldy had to say. You look at this Philadelphia Eagles safety depth chart, and if the season were to start today, I think the Eagles would move forward with Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown as the starters. I think Reed Blankenship is one of the most underrated players on this Eagles team. I think that Reed Blankenship is one of the most underrated safeties in the entire National Football League. He's made so many clutch plays. He has really good instincts. He can make plays on the rock in a beat. How many times has he come through with clutch interceptions from that deep safety spot? He's not afraid to mix it up around the line of scrimmage and make tackles against ball carriers and against the run. And he's developing into a fan favorite and a locker room favorite. He was a part of the Eagles Leadership Council last year, and when Darius Slay was asked, since Slay left, which players can step in to that type of captain leadership role, he pointed to Reed Blankenship. As far as Sidney Brown, the Eagles took him in the third round a couple of drafts ago. He is a yoked athlete who tested athletically very well in the pre-draft process. As a rookie in 2023, we saw some glimpses of what he brings to the field. Hard hitter, very physical, flies around like his hair is on fire. Sometimes he has to table that aggressiveness because he over-pursues and he takes himself out of plays. But I think that you can use Sidney Brown in a versatile way. You can play him in that normal safety spot, but he can also come up in some diamond nickel packages and play as that hybrid linebacker because he's such a good tackler. I don't know if you want to put him in the slot because he doesn't have that short area quickness, but you can use him in a couple of different ways. But, of course, the Eagles also drafted Andrew Makuba out of Texas with the 64th overall pick in the second round. He plays very similarly to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. A lot of energy, a lot of spirit. He had the lowest passer rating when targeted among college safeties last year at Texas. At Clemson, he played a little bit of nickel corner, and so he can do that as well. He might be a little bit undersized, but he's a 4.4 runner who plays a lot bigger than his size. And I think the Eagles can use him in that type of role where we saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson thrive. Remember, when he got traded to the Eagles, CD Deuce, he had played over 1,000 snaps out of the slot. He had played under 100 snaps at safety. But then the Eagles maximized his skill set, and they used him to his advantage. And I think the Eagles can do the same with Makuba, who has more natural ability to play that center field type of safety role. But what do you notice about those three players who I just talked about? And the likes of Lewis Seen and Tristan McCullum and Andre Sam, who are also backups currently on the Eagles 90-man. They are younger players. Justin Simmons is a veteran player. So with that, this is today's poll question. Do the Eagles need to sign Justin Simmons? Yes or no? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section right now. As for what Baldy had to say about Simmons, it's not just a reunion between Justin Simmons and Vic Fangio. He wants to come to Philadelphia. He wants to be there. The Eagles drafted Andrew Mukuba. They have Reed Blankenship. There's players there, but nobody with the numbers, the interceptions, the leadership that he can provide. The Eagles lost Darius Slay. They lost some leaders in that secondary. He provides that. He's another very, very smart guy. Simmons understands the game, high football IQ. He wants to come to Philly, and I laughed at this part because it's classic Baldy, and he's just keeping it a buck. He said, just find Simmons a house in South Jersey. He's going to be there. He'll be fine. Now, I stand with Baldy with what he had to say on the NFL Network. It all makes so much sense for Howie Roseman and the Eagles to add Justin Simmons to this team. I like the Eagles safety room. Blankenship is a fantastic player. I like the selection of Andrew Makuba, although I thought the Eagles could have gotten him in the third round, and that's why Howie Roseman himself said that we thought about trading back, but we didn't want to lose him. I think that Sidney Brown is a thumper, and you can use a player like that on the defense. Last year, he didn't get a lot of defensive snaps. What did he do? Take advantage of his role as a special teamer and coming off that ACL surgery. On that same token, though, while I like the youth at this position, it's a risk to move forward with these young players. There are so many benefits to adding a veteran like this. We're talking leadership, high football IQ. He knows this game because he played and flourished under Vic Fangio. He would be a great locker room presence. And keep in mind, you lost some respected players from this team last year. And if an injury were to happen at that safety position, at the very least, even if Justin Simmons isn't a starter, he gives you really good injury insurance at that position. And then there's this as well. I don't think that Simmons, at this point of his career, on the other side of 30, is going to demand top dollar. I don't think he's going to cost all that much. And so he's an unrestricted free agent. He signed a one-year contract with Atlanta. He had been with Denver for his entire career from 2016 all the way through 2023. Highly decorated player since being drafted in the third round out of Boston College. He is going to be 32 years old on November 19th, but safeties can play in this league for a while. Is he still in his prime? No, but he's a very good veteran option at the safety spot. So I would explore a signing of Justin Simmons. I would explore maybe going with a younger player like Julian Blackmon, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts, who is also still out there on the free agency market. As far as Simmons to Philly, here are all the connections here. And he has now told Baldy that he wants to be with Philadelphia. He said to Kay Adams, playing there would be awesome. Two-time second-team All-Pro under Vic Fangio, when Fangio, the Dunmore native, was the head coach of Denver. He's a four-time second-team All-Pro. He's also close with Christian Parker, the Eagles DB's coach, who a lot of people inside that organization are very high on. They think that CP has an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator in this league. The Eagles' secondary members, they also love Christian Parker. The Eagles traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Sidney Brown is unproven, and Brown gives you depth, leadership, and I think he's cheap. 2016 third-round pick, as I mentioned, that four-time second-team All-Pro. I want to emphasize that because he was a All-Pro player as recently as 2023. NFL interceptions co-leader in 2022. That's one thing that he has done very consistently is generate turnovers and pick passes off. He has 32 interceptions since 2016. I'm pretty sure that might be number one, or at least it's top 5 among all DBs since entering the league in 2016. This is a ball-hawking playmaker who is also very durable. 13-plus games played in 8 of 9 years. The only time that he played less than 13 games was back in 2022. I'm sorry to interrupt this great video here on Eagles Now, but look, let's take a moment here on today's show to tell you to subscribe to the channel. We're 19 people away from 120,000 subscribers, and we surpassed 100K and got that silver plaque from YouTube during the divisional round game against the Los Angeles Rams back in January. Here we are, already about to embark on 120,000 subscribers. If you want insightful, informative, thought-provoking, entertaining Eagles coverage every single day on YouTube, I'm your boy. Lock us in. Hit that sub button. Grew up loving this team. Diehard fan since 4 years old, growing up in Westchester. Went to Temple University. And I think what we do here is very special. All right, if you want an Eagles jersey, you can get hooked up today. Get geared up for the 2025 season with our friends at Fanatics. All you have to do, it's very simple. Use that link down below, chatsports.com/Eagles jersey. When you use that link, you can get all types of Eagles gear, like an Eagles polo, similar to the one that I'm rocking on today's show. As far as these Eagles jerseys, midnight green, white, Kelly green, all types of different sizes too for men, women, kids. We have all types of people who watch this show. If you want some throwbacks, they too available if you use that link down below. And then, therefore, you go to chatsports.com/Eagles jersey, you make a purchase. Fanatics knows, and Michael Rubin, Philly guy, knows that Chat Sports Eagles Now and Chase Sr. sent you. As for how Simmons fared in 2024, when the Falcons signed him, and he didn't sign until late in the process, I think it was August, he had a lot of high expectations when he went to Atlanta. The Falcons' defense, it's been bad over the last few years, and people looked at a Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates safety tandem as one that could resurrect what has been a porous Falcons defense. And it's not like he played spectacular football, but I think there were reasons for that, and we'll get into it here in a moment. Overall PFF grade of 59.9. That was 113th among 171 qualifying safeties. He wasn't great against the run. He ranked 149 there. Coverage grade, not terrible, still in the green at 60.8, but not elite by any standards. 2 picks, that was 23rd, so still showed the ability to pick passes off. Did allow a passer rating when targeted of 105.1. That was 64th, but he also had 4 pass breakups, 19th. So PBUs, interceptions, leadership, still doing that at a very high level. And again, we're talking about a player who as recently as in 2023 was an all-pro player. All-pro in 2019, Pro Bowler in 2020, and then 3 more all-pro honors, 2021 through 2023 consecutively. You see the tackle numbers, the PBU numbers have been very good, consistent ability to pick passes off from that safety position. And I queued this up a little while ago. I think there were reasons why Justin Simmons struggled last year. He talked about this with Kay Adams at this point a couple of months ago. He said everything was new. He had only been with one organization his entire career, with Denver. And it was in that similar defense, even when Vic Fangio wasn't with Denver. And obviously when Fangio was there, it's the same scheme that he's running now, where Simmons became comfortable within it. And he mastered that scheme. And so you bring Simmons back into the defense where he's played his best football, and I think that he can get back on track and play a lot better than he did last year. But it wasn't just Simmons who struggled with Atlanta in 2024. That entire Falcons defense was a joke. They fired their defensive coordinator after 1 year. Raheem Morris, in his first year with Atlanta, had to step in and play more of a role in defensive game planning and play calling late in the year because that Falcons defense was so bad. They allowed the highest completion percentage, 69.9%, and the second most touchdowns in the NFL last year at 34. And oftentimes, your secondary is tied to your pass rush. Well, the pass rush for Atlanta was non-existent. Atlanta was last in the NFL in sacks with 31, and they were last in pressure percentage at 28.1%. They knew that. That's why they drafted Jalen Walker out of Georgia and then traded a first-round pick next year to get a first-round pick this year and double up to take James Pierce. And so oftentimes your safeties and your corners can struggle when you can't get to the quarterback. Why? Because the quarterback can drop back. They have all day to survey the field, process what's going on, and if they're not going to get touched in the pocket, they will cook you. And the Falcons got cooked. Isn't it crazy, too, how the Eagles lost to Atlanta last year? The Saquon Barkley drop. Crazy. And then the Eagles after that, what they lost 2 more games the rest of the way. Buccaneers, when everybody was hurt, and then the Commanders game when Jalen Hurts got knocked out early with that concussion. So Baldy knows ball. Baldinger thinks it's a good fit. I think it's a good fit. Bring Justin Simmons to Philadelphia. At the very least, you get a 4-time second-team All-Pro at a cheap price who knows this defense, who can give you, at the very least, great depth at that position. You want to give me a follow on X and Instagram, feel free to do so. In addition to all of the Eagles content that I put out here on YouTube, I'm always talking birds on my social media